Hello friends, in unit 2 up till now we have covered quite a number of topics. We have talked about the marketing communication process, various elements. We talked about the process which is used to develop an effective communication campaign, and we have also had a discussion on various steps in this process. Now today is the time for us to discuss the communication mix. Right, so we are going to discuss the communication mix. I hope you remember from your learning in third semester also in marketing management that communication mix comprises of 5 elements: advertising, sales promotion, direct marketing, personal selling, and public relations. Right, so we'll be taking a brief look at all these elements one by one, and we'll do a comparative analysis. We'll start with advertising, but I'm not going to give you a detailed understanding on advertising as of today, since we are going to in any case cover advertising in unit 3 in considerable detail. Right, so what is advertising? That is what we are going to start off with today. Advertising, please understand, these are the variants, these are the various types of advertising campaigns. It could be the print and the broadcast advertising. Print is newspaper or magazines. Likewise, broadcast is television or radio. Then we have got the posters and the billboards, which is known as outdoor advertising. We have got display signs also, which are depicted near the retail shops. Then we have got point of purchase displays. I hope you remember our discussion on point of purchase displays, the point at which the customer is making a purchase at the retail store. So that is known as the point of purchase, and the displays which are shown there so that they may spur the customer into buying a particular product, they are known as POP displays. I have talked about the refrigerators which are kept in retail stores by Pepsi and Coca-Cola. They are an example of POP displays. Then we have got brochures and leaflets, which many companies make use of. Then we have got logos, the trademarks, the symbols, and the labeling on the package. So all these are different types of advertising. And now what we are going to do is we are going to talk about some attributes of advertising. The first attribute is amplified expressiveness. In advertising, what you can do is you can make use of sound, you can make use of color, and when I'm talking about sound, I'm referring to broadcast ads, I'm referring to ads which are telecasted on television and radio. Right, so therein you can make use of sound and color. In case of television ad, you can also make use of pictures, and this way you can express your ideas, you can express yourself in a more profound fashion, and that is what we mean by amplified. Amplified means very high, increased expressiveness. Then pervasiveness is another attribute of advertising. Pervasive means when you advertise on popular media, for example, when you advertise on newspaper, or let's say when you advertise on television, it gets to be seen in so many different parts of the market, in so many different regions of the market, in so many different states, in so many different places. Now this is what we mean by pervasiveness. And one advantage that you have is that you can repeat your message. For example, let's say if you are trying to sell a particular brand of namkeens, then you can repeat your message again and again. So you can come up with an advertising campaign on television, then we can have another advertising campaign on radio. So we can repeat the message again and again and ensure that the customer is able to, the brand, your brand gets registered in the customer's mind, and he is able to recall your brand, he is able to remember your brand whenever he is facing a purchase situation. Whenever he is going for a purchase, he remembers your brand. So this can be ensured through message repetition. Then another attribute of advertising is impersonality. What do we mean by this? See, I talked about group communication and I talked about mass communication, and one differentiating feature of mass communication was that the sender does not know, individually does not know the receivers, so he would not personally know every single receiver, right? And that is what we mean by impersonality. It's not a personal mode of communication, right? The message is getting sent. For example, if you are coming up with a television ad, it is getting broadcasted on TV and it is for everybody to see. That is what we discussed here, pervasive. But it is not meant for a particular person, and because of which the audience is not obligated, they don't feel obligated to pay attention or to respond to the advertising appeal, because it is not meant as a personal communication for every single member in the audience. They don't feel obligated. If you compare it with personal selling, therein the salesperson from the firm would come to the customer and would interact with him one-to-one in many cases. There the customer would feel obligated to respond to what the salesperson is saying. Here this kind of obligation does not arise, and this in a way is a weakness of advertising as a means of communication or as an element of communication mix. Now, public presentation. This is another feature of advertising, public presentation. What do we mean by public presentation? Whenever you are going for advertising, you are actually sending across a message not to one single individual but to a whole lot of people, the whole of the market, the whole of the target audience, which means that this is going to be a public message. And since it is a public message, the customer perceives it to be truer. Customer is able to have greater trust on this kind of a message just because it is a message in the public domain. And naturally, when you are saying something publicly, there are less chances that you are going to be wrong. On the other hand, if you say something in a one-to-one mode with some other person, let's say you are saying something, you are claiming something privately with a friend, whenever you are interacting with a friend of yours, then naturally it may so happen that you are basically not telling the truth. On the other hand, if you are saying the same thing in public, then there are greater chances that you are telling the truth, and this is what the customer thinks, and he perceives the claims made in the advertising campaigns to be truer. So this confers legitimacy. So the audience, the customer perceives your claims to be legitimate, closer to reality. Another aspect of advertising is that through advertising you can reach geographically dispersed buyers. For example, if I start advertising on national TV, let's say I start advertising on Sony, I can reach people in Ladakh also, I can reach people in Kanyakumari also, and I can reach people in Gujarat as well as in Arunachal Pradesh. So in that sense, if you want to reach a lot of customers and if your target audience is spread across the country, go for national advertising on some TV channel, for example, or on some newspaper which is read across the country. So there is a good reach among the geographically dispersed buyers as far as advertising is concerned. I hope you understand that this amplified expressiveness, pervasiveness, public presentation and high reach among geographically dispersed buyers, these are the strengths of advertising as an element in communication mix. Again, advertising is used for long-term image creation, and many a times it is also used for triggering quick sales. Now, what do we mean by long-term image creation? You want to create an image for your firm. For example, Maruti Suzuki has always tried to create an image of a brand which provides value for money. It talks about the fuel economy of its cars, right? And this is the long-term image that they have tried to create, and they have been able to do this using their advertising campaigns. Again, many a times if you want to trigger quick sales, for example, I hope you remember our ad that probably I showed you, wherein we were trying to sell woolen clothes during the off season. In fact, during the March-April season, when the winter is coming to an end. So we want to clear our stocks and we want to get rid of our stock, because in any case nobody is going to purchase the woolen clothes in the month of May and April and June and so on. So we have to clear our stocks. In that case, we'll come up with some kind of a discount sale. And if I want people to get to know about these kind of discount sales, then what will I do? I can again go for advertising, and I can trigger a quick response from my target audience. I can make them come to the discount sales, and I can make them buy products from there. So there also advertising can be used. Apart from long-term image creation, it can also be used to trigger quick sales. Is this fine? Now let's talk about sales promotion, which is the second element. I hope you remember our earlier discussion wherein I talked about the two different elements within sales promotion. One is the trade promotion and the other one is the consumer promotion. Consumer promotion is directed at the end customer, and trade promotion is directed at the intermediaries. It could be the distributors, it could be the dealers, it could be the retailers. For example, I'll give you an idea. SBI Life, it sells its policies through various bank branches. So it collaborates with various bank branches. In Uttarakhand, it has collaborated with Uttarakhand Gramin Bank. And they have actually given away targets to different bank branches. And whichever bank branch is able to reach the target, the branch manager of that particular branch is sent on a fully paid tour to some foreign destination. Now please understand, this kind of sales promotion gimmick is actually being targeted to the intermediaries, the bank branches and the bank branch managers who are going to sell your product, who are going to talk about your product, who are going to talk about the SBI Life policies to the customers. So this is an example of trade promotion. On the other hand, if let's say Colgate comes up with an offer which says that 25% extra in the same prices, so they come up with an extra offer, come up with an offer which provides you 25% more of their product in the same prices. Now this is directed towards the end customer, and this would be called consumer promotion, right? So let's talk about the different types of consumer promotions that we have. Discounts. Do we have it here? 10% discount. Now this is an example of consumer promotion. I hope you now can understand what I was trying to describe a little while earlier. Then you've got free samples. Free samples are distributed. It could happen even in product as well as in services. For example, I can start off free demo classes for all those who want to join the PBA course. Is that fine? So that can be an example of consumer promotion. Then we can provide gifts to our customers. Now that again is an example of sales promotion. Within sales promotion, that is consumer promotion. Low interest financing. What do we mean by low interest financing? For example, if you want to go and buy a Maruti car, what will happen? You may want to go for some kind of a car loan because you may not have the money to make all the payment there and then. So you would want to go for some kind of a loan. If the company arranges some loan for you wherein you don't have to pay a very high rate of interest, wherein you only have to pay a very nominal rate of interest, then it can be called low interest financing, and this is an example of consumer promotion. I hope you have seen what these online retail stores do, these e-commerce sites do. They provide easy financing options to their customers, and you can purchase the product at 0% EMI, for example. Now this is an example of low interest financing. Then we've got loyalty rewards. Loyalty rewards are meant for those customers who have been loyal to your brand, who have been purchasing your brand since long ago, and who plan to continue their relationship with your brand, who plan to continue their purchase of their brand, their purchase of your brand. So these kind of customers would be, they are known as loyal customers, and they can be rewarded. They can be rewarded for being loyal to your brand. How you can do that? For example, many of the air carriers, for example, earlier it was Jet also. Now we've got Air India, we've got Go Air, Indigo. They reward their clients, they reward their customers according to the number of trips taken by them on their plane. So for example, if I as a customer have traveled 1 lakh kilometers in a particular year on an Indigo aircraft, on various Indigo aircrafts, then I would be given some loyalty bonus. I might be able to make use of that loyalty bonus to buy something from the airport, or to maybe relax in a private lounge in the airport. Now these are examples of loyalty rewards. Again, games and contests are also organized. Likewise, lotteries are organized. These are examples of consumer promotion. Please understand there is a difference between the two. As far as lotteries are concerned, lottery is basically dependent on the fate. It does not require any kind of a skill. Anybody can win a lottery without having to demonstrate a skill. On the other hand, games and contests require you to demonstrate some kind of a skill. For example, PepsiCo can come up with this kind of a consumer promotion campaign wherein you have to write a jingle for the Pepsi ad. So you have to write a 4-liner jingle for the Pepsi ad, and if your jingle is found to be the best, then you would be given some cash award or some other kind of a gift. Now this is an example of games and contests, because this would require a lot of skill on the part of the participants. On the other hand, if you only have to buy PepsiCo, and then all those who have bought PepsiCo, a draw of lots would be there, and 2 or 3 names would be picked up, and they would be sent on a foreign tour. Then this becomes an example of lotteries, because it does not require you to have some skills. It only requires you to have purchased that particular product. So lotteries don't require any skills as such, while games and contests would require a lot of skills on the part of the customers. Now please understand, Pepsi ka label ab 1 crore ka shortcut. Basically what is it that they are trying to say? That if you remove the label, and if there is a particular number which is found on the label, then you have the opportunity to win 1 crore. Now please understand, is this game or a contest, or is this a lottery? This is basically a lottery, because this does not entail any demonstration of skills on the part of the participants or on the part of the customers, right? So let us now talk about some attributes of sales promotion. First, it helps you gain attention, and it leads the consumers to the products. So naturally, when you come up with these kind of sales, these kind of consumer promotion, these kind of offers for the customers, then naturally it will help you gain attention, and it will bring the customers, it will entice them into buying your product. Naturally, when there is a 10% discount, the customer would feel enticed, and he might want to buy the product. Then sales promotion basically invites the customers to engage in some kind of a transaction. It could be buying a particular product, it could be taking the demo class or taking the demo ride. So it could be any kind of transaction, and sales promotion basically invite the customer, they entice the customer into engaging in that transaction. For example, if you see this particular ad, now please understand, now this is an ad because naturally they have to make the people aware about this consumer promotion campaign that they have brought out. this Pepsi ka label up, 1 crore ka shortcut campaign that they brought out. So naturally people need to be made aware. So they are making use of an ad here. So this is an ad, but what they are trying to showcase through this ad is this consumer promotion campaign, right? And naturally when you see this ad and when you get to learn about this consumer promotion campaign, don't you think you would want to buy a Pepsi to try out your luck? This is what we mean by invitation to engage in transaction. And then they also provide the customers incentive for buying a particular product. So naturally this is the incentive. If you go and buy a particular product, you will be getting a 10% discount, or if you buy one item you will get another item free. So 2 items for the price of 1. These are incentives which are given away. These are rewards. These are motivational tools for the customers to make him buy your product. Is this making sense? Now again, sales promotion are basically, please understand, sales promotion are used to obtain short-term responses only. You cannot and you should not be using sales promotion as a long-term strategy, which means you can come up with this kind of a 10% discount offer once in a year maybe, or maybe once in a time span of 6 months, or maybe during festive periods. But if you have this kind of a campaign going throughout the year, what will happen? Nobody is going to purchase your product at the 100% price, at the actual selling price. They would all be looking for this 10% discount. So for example, supposing you come up with this kind of a campaign every now and then, 10% discount, or let's say 20% discount. So what would the customers do? What do you do? Don't you wait for these e-commerce websites to declare Maha sales during the festive season, maybe Diwali or Dashera or Holi or maybe Eid? You wait because you know that they would certainly come up with these kind of consumer promotion campaigns. So you delay your purchase, which in a way is detrimental to the marketer. The marketer would not want you to delay your purchase, but you are delaying the purchase because you know at some point of time there would be a consumer promotion offer, and you are delaying your purchase so that you can benefit from that consumer promotion offer, right? So you should not be using sales promotion as a very frequent tactics. You should do it in a very, very sparing manner. You should not be doing it on a regular basis. Otherwise it will erode your sales volume, and it will also erode your brand's image in the market and among the target audience. So you should use it only once in a while, right? Let us talk a little bit about the trade promotion, which we have talked about here. Now trade promotion, as I said, they would be directed towards the intermediaries. So you have got advertising allowance. What happens, for example, LG does this. So LG, supposing there is an LG dealer here in Pithoragarh and he has got 2-3 outlets. So LG will do national advertising on national TV or newspapers, and then LG will also provide some allowance to the dealers in different places, in different districts, so that they can come up with advertising campaigns at the local level. So you might see the local LG dealer distributing some pamphlets. For that he must have received some allowance from LG. Now this is trade promotion, and since this has been directed towards the intermediary, it is known as trade promotion. Now again, POP displays, I talked about the PepsiCo and the Coca-Cola refrigerators which they give away to retailers. Don't you think it will incentivize the retailers to stock PepsiCo or stock Coca-Cola? To stock Coca-Cola, right? Again, they also come up with contests. I talked about the contest for the SBI, which SBI Life came up with for the bank branch managers. So that is an example of a contest which is directed at the intermediaries, the branch managers who will make sales to the end customers. So these are examples of trade promotion because they are directed at intermediaries and not at the end customer, right? Now let us talk about personal selling. As I've told you earlier also, personal selling will be discussed in detail in unit 4 and 5. But here I will give you just a brief idea of what personal selling is. And you can see this picture here. This individual is a salesperson who represents a particular firm, and he has knocked on this door, and this lady has opened the door, and now he's trying to sell his product to the lady. So this is an example of personal selling, and I told you this is interpersonal communication. Contrast it with advertising, which is mass communication. Here it is interpersonal communication, because these two people, now this guy now actually knows the receiver of his message more intimately than would happen in case of advertising, right? So this is what personal selling is all about. Now please understand, personal selling can take form of sales meetings, wherein this salesperson goes to the prospective buyer, to the prospect, and talks about his product. He makes a presentation, and he demonstrates how his product is being used. For example, Eureka Forbes used to do this in 2000 to sell their vacuum cleaners. They would have their salespersons, and these salespersons would visit various families and would try to sell them the vacuum cleaners, the Eureka Forbes vacuum cleaners. So these, and they would also demonstrate how the vacuum cleaner works. So this is what demonstration is all about. Then many a times in personal selling, you also give away some free samples to the prospective buyer, so that he can try out your product, and if he is satisfied and convinced, he'll place an order, right? And you also provide some incentive to the prospective buyer. So for example, you can tell him, sir, if you place the order by 5th of October, I will be giving you a free gift. So this is an incentive that you are giving to the prospect, right? Now please understand, now samples and incentives, basically if somebody asks you what do we mean by samples and incentives, which element of the communication mix do they correspond to, they actually correspond to sales promotion. But in personal selling, we are making use of these sales promotion tool. Do you understand? If you remember, in sales promotion, we were making use of advertising to generate awareness about our sales promotion offer that has come up in the market. Do you remember the ad that I showed you? The 1 crore offer, right? So that was an example of use of advertising to create awareness about, to inform your target audience about your sales promotion offer. Just like that, here in personal selling, we are making use of sales promotion tools like samples and incentives to make the prospect buy your product, right? Now let us talk about trade fairs. What do we mean by trade fairs? Again, we are going to discuss them later on also. But trade fairs, what happens? Please understand. In trade fair, what happens? You might have seen these kind of trade fairs organized here in the Ramlila Maidan, somewhere near Nagar Palika also. So what happens? There are different stalls which are put up by different manufacturers, different markets, from different marketers from different parts of the country or state. You go to those stalls, and then you have a look at the various items, and then you may place an order. And this is an example of a trade fair, right? So you place an order there, and then that order is supplied by that particular marketer. However, if you go to a particular stall and you start asking questions, if you start inquiring about the product, its attributes, the people sitting at the particular stall, they might want to note down your phone number and contact you later on to sell their products. So they might use this phone number to contact you later on after the trade fair is over, and then will try to sell you their products. Now that is what is the use of trade fairs as far as personal selling is concerned, to generate leads, so that you can generate leads on which you can work further, and you can convert these leads into customers for your products. Now, what are the various attributes of personal selling? Response. Again, contrast this with advertising. Advertising was mass communication, so you never felt obligated, because the message was being received by you, and it was also being received by so many other people in different parts of the country also. So you're not obligated to respond. However, here you are obligated to respond, right? So the receiver here, this lady, would feel obliged to listen to the sales talk. Then personal confrontation takes place. There's a give and take between the sender of the message, that is the salesperson, and the receiver of the message, that is the lady in this particular picture. So there's an interactive relationship. Then this person has access to non-verbal cues, so he can understand the mindset of the customer better. Non-verbal cues means gestures and postures, or maybe winks or smiles. So that will give an idea, that will give this salesperson an idea as to how this lady is thinking and how this lady is planning to respond to his sales pitch, right? And there's a relationship also between the sender of the message, the salesperson, and the receiver of the message, that is the prospect or that is the customer. So there's a relationship between the two also, and this relationship many a times gets converted into a long-term relationship wherein salesperson keeps on informing the customer about the new products that have come into the market, the upgrades that have come into the market. So take example for a dealer point salesperson, a salesperson at a car dealership. So he engages into one-time transaction and he sells a car to a particular customer. Then he keeps in touch with the customer so that whenever there is an upgrade of that particular car, he can sell it to the customer, right? So there is an ongoing relationship between the two. Personal selling is many a times used to convince the buyer and to obtain buyer preference. You want to convince the buyer so that the buyer may start, so that the prospect may start preferring your product, preferring your brand over other products and brands in the market. So you try to build conviction. I hope you remember conviction. I hope you remember what we discussed in our last session. I talked about how personal selling is used whenever you want to create buyer conviction, whenever you want customer to be convinced about the quality and product, about the quality of your product or service. Now let us talk about direct marketing. What do we mean by direct marketing? Have a look here. What do we mean by direct marketing? This is my own Facebook page, and you can see these updates here and all the regular stuff that appears on a Facebook page, but you can also see these ads on the right top right of my Facebook page, and these are the ads which are coming specifically to me, and it may so happen that they're not being shown to my friends, they're not being shown to my colleagues or my relatives. They have been shown specifically to me, and they have been shown specifically to me because the Facebook must have had access to my browsing habits. So they know my browsing habits, they know what all products or services I'm looking for, and then they have supplied this information to various marketers, and these marketers have now placed their ads on my Facebook page. Now this is an instance of direct marketing. Direct marketing is also known as zero channel marketing, because channel would mean intermediary, and there are no intermediaries between the marketer and the customer. So whenever you go for direct marketing, you do not make use of any intermediary. There is no intermediary between the marketer and the customer, right? For example, when I call up prospective students who have just cleared their 12th exam so that they can apply for admissions to our course here, don't you think it is an instance of direct marketing, because there is no intermediary in between? I'm the marketer and I'm sending across my message directly to my prospective buyer, to my prospective customer. Now this is an instance of direct marketing. Likewise, you might have seen some offers, mobile service providers sending you some offers through SMS, or maybe you might receive some other kind of a message through email. Now that is an example of direct marketing. There is no intermediary involved. So Vodafone or Airtel or whosoever you have subscribed to, they are sending their messages directly to you. This is an example of direct marketing. So telemarketing, these are the various tools within direct marketing. You can make use of telephone, you can send across the message directly to the prospective customer through mail or email. Now snail mail, the earlier versions wherein you had to post a letter, that was known as snail mail because the speed was relatively slow compared to the email that is in vogue nowadays. And then we've got internet. You have seen this example here. We have got catalogs. For example, if a publisher wants to sell his books, so what will he do? He'll prepare a catalog for all the books that he has, and then he'll send it across to government degree college library, and the librarian would have a look, and then he would order some of these books. So this is example of catalog marketing. And then we can make use of television also. Have you seen these infomercials on television wherein you only have to call up a particular number and the products would be distributed, they would be delivered to you directly at your place? And these kind of products are generally also not available in retail stores, so there is no other option that you have. So these are examples of direct marketing campaigns. These are examples of direct marketing through television. Now what do we have in direct marketing? What are the various attributes? Number one, it is customized. As I told you, this message is not being received by my fellow friend who is generally looking for bikes. He's getting a message, maybe he's getting an ad, he's being shown an ad placed by Maruti or placed by Honda, but he is not getting this particular ad because the direct marketing campaigns are customized. They are customized according to the needs, according to the requirements of the customer. So because I was found to be looking for these kind of things, these kind of ads have come to me, right? Interactive. Now what do we mean by interactive? Message can be modified as per receiver's response. For example, if I send across a mail, and if the response is not so positive, I can modify my message. So in that sense, direct marketing is interactive. Herein you can modify your message. Contrast it with advertising. Can you modify your message? Supposing you are a soap brand and somebody is looking for health benefits, for that particular individual you have got an ad which has depicted health benefits. Somebody else is looking for value for money, so for that particular person, can you come up with a different ad? It would not be possible. It would not at all be feasible. So you cannot go for this kind of customization there. However, in direct marketing it is possible. You can interact with the customer and then accordingly modify your message to suit the customer requirements. Non-public. So this is one mode which is not public. Now this kind of, if a particular mail is being sent to me, the same mail would not be sent to some other customer, would not be sent to some other prospective customer or buyer. There would be a different mail depending on different requirements. For example, if I call up students so that I can get admissions in the first year, the message, the exact words that I will be saying would be very, very different in two different instances, and they would depend a lot on how the receiver is responding to my message. Is this fine? So the message is addressed only to the receiver. It is customized according to the requirements of the receiver, and one particular message intended for a particular receiver is not sent to others. So you send different messages to different receivers based on their differences in responses and based on their different requirements. And direct marketing is up to date also. What do we mean by this? For example, I have seen these ads now, supposing on my Facebook page, and then I decide that no, I'm going to look for discounted coding classes. Now these are coding classes, but I'm looking for discounted coding classes. So I start searching for discounted coding classes. It could so happen that this information is relayed by Facebook to the marketer, and then they would place another ad on my Facebook page that would show the word discount prominently, and they would show discounted coding classes. So the message which has been sent by the marketer has been changed, has been modified according to my requirements, and within a moment. Can you do this kind of a thing in advertising? Can you keep changing your advertising every single month or every single week depending on the emerging tastes, emerging customer requirements, emerging customer needs? You cannot do that, but here you can do that. For example, if my prospect has decided, let's say I'm a bank and I'm using direct marketing, I send across mails to my customers, and if my customer has decided to close down his account in my bank, what will I do? I'll send a different message to my customer and I'll apologize for whatever inconvenience has been caused to him, and because of which he has taken this particular decision. So I can be up to date as far as direct marketing is concerned. However, bringing about change in sales promotion or specifically in advertising is very, very time consuming. Let's talk about public relations and publicity. I hope you understand the difference between publicity and public relations. In publicity, we do not have to pay anything, right? This is the only mode of communication. This is the only element in communication mix wherein we do not pay anything. For example, let's say there is a blood donation campaign in Department of Business Administration in Degree College, Pithoragarh. So though there is a blood donation campaign, but the message is getting across to so many people that okay, there is a certain Department of Business Administration which is offering a BBA course in Government Degree College, Pithoragarh, right? And this message is getting across through various news items, through word of mouth, and this is an example of publicity for us. We don't have to spend anything. We only have to organize the blood donation campaign. People will get to know about it through various media items. People would talk about it, and this way we will be able to generate awareness about our course without having to spend anything. So publicity does not entail any expenditure. Now let's have a look at the different types of public relation exercises. I've mentioned them here: sponsorships and donations. So you can sponsor various events. For example, Close Up has been sponsoring this Antakshari, this kind of a contest, right? So that was being sponsored by Close Up, right? You can donate something to some cause also. This will also be part of public relations. Then we've got speeches and events, speeches by the company officials. So for example, you might have come across news items regarding speech by Mr. Mukesh Ambani or speech by Mr. Ratan Tata. So that is an example of public relation exercise. So whenever these speeches are taking place, they are getting reported in media and people are getting to know about it. So this is an example of public relation exercises. Again, companies many times publish their reports, their financial statements, for example, their balance sheets, profit loss statement in newspapers for everybody to see, for the general public. Now this again is an example of public relation exercises. Likewise, companies may have their own newsletters or magazines which they circulate among their current customers or prospective customers, right? We have talked about publicity here. Now please understand, here there is an event which is being organized by Colgate, free dental checkup. Now though they are not actually talking about the attributes of Colgate and they're not asking the customer to buy Colgate, but when you look at this particular ad, when you see this particular ad, what happens? You see, okay, there's a free dental checkup being organized by Colgate, and naturally this Colgate brand gets registered in your mind as a customer. So the Colgate Palmolive is able to create awareness, generate awareness, and they are able to create a goodwill for the company also by organizing these kind of events. Now let us talk about lobbying. What do we mean by lobbying? Lobbying is basically trying to convince the lawmakers. Who are the lawmakers here in India? The parliamentarians, the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha, and the state legislatures. If as a company you try to convince these people to bring up those kind of laws which are favorable, which are good for your company or for other companies in your industry, for the whole industry, then this is an example of lobbying, right? For example, many car makers, in fact the SIAM is a group of car manufacturers here in India. So they are lobbying with the government because the current GST is 28%. GST rate is 28% on automobiles. So they are lobbying the government to reduce this rate. So they are trying to convince the government, they are trying to convince the various ministries, they are trying to convince the parliamentarians, those who make these laws, to reduce the GST rate on cars or on automobiles. So this is an example of lobbying. This is again a tool in public relations. Now public relations will lead to a lot of credibility. People will trust you more. Rather than having faith in a Colgate ad, they would like to have faith in these kind of campaigns, in these kind of public relations exercise naturally. So as a customer, you will have greater level of trust when you see these kind of events being launched by the particular brand. Then scope for dramatization, you can also dramatize. For example, Lagan 11 matches were being organized when Lagan was getting launched around 2000. So Lagan 11 matches were being organized. Now that was dramatization just to be able to sell your movie. Do you know what actually happened when Amir Khan's Three Idiots were about to get released? He actually dressed up in different attires, and then he went to different places. So this created a lot of publicity. So this dramatization led to a lot of publicity for Amir Khan as well as the movie that was about to get released, and eventually the movie was a big hit, right? So this kind of dramatization is possible as far as public relations are concerned, and it also catches buyers off guard. Generally, as a buyer, as a customer, you expect advertisements. Whenever you are looking at, maybe you are watching a particular TV channel, you are expecting advertisements, but you don't expect these kind of things. You don't expect Colgate organizing a free dental checkup, or for example a Lifebuoy organizing a free health checkup. So whenever you see these things, you are caught off guard. You don't actually expect them, and since you don't expect them, it registers in your mind more strongly. So it gets registered in your mind more strongly, or you are able to retain the memory for a longer period of time, which is good for the marketer. Is that fine? So with this, we are closing our discussion on communication mix. We have discussed all the 5 elements. We have talked about their attributes and what are the various tools within different elements in the communication mix. We'll be discussing advertising in detail in Unit 3, and we'll be discussing personal selling in Unit 4 and 5 in detail. Thank you very much for your time.